I love February and I love to readjust myself this month so I can take a look at the things that I'm focusing on. So this is a great month to start the habit to prioritize yourself and the things that you want. I know last the part one we covered a lot. There we go. That's better. Okay, so let's get started. Um, so where do I want to begin? First, everyone who's in this class will get this. So make sure I have your mailing address. Oh, I don't want to lose my bookmarks that I'm doing tonight, but it's a big book and I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot of stuff in here that I did not cover. So just like the shadow book, there's a lot of stuff in there. And it's because I like you to connect to a lot of this stuff on your own. So I hope you enjoy it. So make sure you have your address. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about starting a routine because I found that in order for me to make myself a priority, I actually had to start a routine. Okay. And a lot of us don't have the time to, really have the freedom or the time in our days where we can actually take time for ourselves or we don't think about it, and then we're sitting there at the end of the day saying, oh, I wish I did more for myself. So I do find that creating a daily ritual for you is important, and that will help manifest things. And when we do that, we are actually connecting to ourselves on different levels. So I kind of want to go into that because there are signs that will let you know, hey, you need to connect to yourself, or you need to take time to heal. You need to take time for wisdom. So I do want to go over some of those signs for you. And these are things that, of course, I do. They work for me. Maybe they'll work for you. And that's why I want to share this stuff. So one of the things that I notice is when my mind goes overactive. Have you ever experienced, notice how I'm like this? I don't mean that, but sometimes I felt that way, right? So sometimes we can get an overactive mind where our mind doesn't know how to be quiet. Okay. And what I found is a lot of times that is a sign that you need to slow down and get the message. Okay. And a lot of times it can be like thoughts that never end. And it's like your mind doesn't know how to shut off. Or you could see like this imagery. And it's almost like, remember those old fashioned, well, some of you might be younger, but there used to be these old fashioned reels that they play at the movie theater. Okay. It would be like that. And both of those can happen when our mind is overactive and we're not getting the message. We're not listening to ourselves. We're not getting the messages that our higher self or our inner self wants to bring forward. And so use that as a sign. And it's like, oh my God, my mind's never stopped. And you can put anything in the chat there if you relate to any of this, because I don't want to be the only one sitting here crazy. But it is actually something. I'm not the only one that's experienced this, but it is actually a sign of an intuitive. And a lot of times people will have an overactive mind until they actually connect to their psychic abilities, or they take the time to sit in silence right? And that's one of the reasons why just taking time out and sitting in silence is good, because then your mind knows that it can give you, it can come forward and give you the message or the picture or the information or the wisdom that you want. So our mind will drive us crazy if we're not tending to it properly, right? If we're in a positive state, we become more positive. If we're in a negative state, we become more negative, right? And we can like really fall. So our mind is something that is meant to give us, a connection that is moving us forward. I found that before I really started tapping into my psychic abilities, my mind was really overactive. And I used to say to my mom, I used to say, like, Mom, my mind won't shut off. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't understand why I can't quiet my mind. And my mom would say, well, I have that too. And then I remember my dad kind of looking at us and he's like, "You two are crazy." And he just shook his head and wanted to leave. And I really thought, like, am I crazy? And it wasn't until I started delving into tarot. And I started delving into tarot when I lived on my own. So I moved out on my own when I was 14, and I wanted to know everything, like, who's my soulmate? How am I gonna, like, what am I supposed to do, right? I moved out young, and it wasn't until I started doing cards that all of a sudden I got the message. It was like my mind went quiet and I could see and hear everything. And I was like, holy shit. And it was really weird to me when it happened. But it does happen when you start to listen to yourself and you give yourself that time. And since I connected to my self and my guides and learned how to listen, I don't have that spinning mind unless I'm like being told to do something and I'm not doing it, right? The to-do list. So that is something that is important for you, is to have your mind, give your mind the time for it, prioritize for your mind so you can connect with it. And if you do take that time for yourself, you will find that your intuitive abilities will grow and your mind will slow down. So I actually recall the time I told my mind to shut up and actually listen for a few minutes. I love that. That is actually something that I had to do. Actually, that's how I tamed my ego. My ego used to always tell me, you can't do that, or you're stupid. Like the things that I would hear, like, oh my God, like talk about self-brutalization, self-punishment. And I actually got into the habit of looking in the mirror and telling myself to shut up or F off or yes, I can. And that is something that helps. For me, it helped me tame my ego. And once you tame your ego and your mind is like, knows that you can do it, you don't have any self-doubts, it will be quiet. And if it speaks up, that's something I use as a sign. Like, there's no reason why a fear would speak to me unless this fear is important, unless this thing is important. There's no reason why I would hear you're dumb, don't do it, if I was meant to do it, right? Like, think about the opposite, right? The polarities of our mind and the guidance and our intuition. It's all active and in play. The other thing that is super important is our speaking. So we have to be able to speak our mind or communicate. And that is something that you do have to prioritize. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't really have anybody to talk to. You can talk to yourself in the mirror, but spiritually, giving yourself space. So even if it's like your morning coffee and it's 2 cups, like me, okay, that's my space. Okay. That is actually the same equivalent of speaking your feelings. So I learned that instead of like, if I can't express, I can go into my space. And as soon as I go into my space and I open my universe to hear, right? I'll open my hearing. Okay. So I'll go into my space. I'm drinking my coffee and I listen as far as I can. What do I hear? Do I hear the ocean? I always listen for something, right? What element comes into play? And as soon as I hear something, then I will start thinking about the things I need to release, or I think about the things that I want to focus on. I ask for the guidance for my day. So just giving ourselves space will help our communication and our ability to speak the things we need to, but also it will allow us to hear the things that we need to hear in a way that we can communicate where it is right for us because we're aligned to our space and the ability to speak. And that energy is actually the energy that comes from our, solar plexus. So giving ourselves space will actually activate and balance that solar plexus energy. The other thing that I find that is important is, having something to touch. So I like to carry something on me. I'm always got something in my hands, or I'm holding a pen or a book, or, as long as I have something that I can touch, whether it's something I'm wearing. When you touch something and you have something that you're holding, you're connecting to air, the element of air. So if you take the time to sit and let your mind just have its space, whether it wants to run crazy, but you connect to the space around you and you settle in, now your communication with the universe is open and you focus on something you're touching. Now you're connecting to the atmosphere and connecting to it in a new way because you're touching something. Now your clairvoyance opens up and you can start to receive visualizations, or our psychic eyes give us messages. And if you have a candle going and you see that candle moving and flicker while you're in that space, there's something you're meant to see. And then if you have a glass of water around you, right, or you're just drinking water in your sacred space, it actually opens up your connection to co-create with the spirits around you. And of course, if you have a stone or crystal in that room, or something to smell, just touching a quartz or a stone will actually activate our psychic sense of smelling. And when we actually are smelling something, the magic of smelling herbs and incense is actually to eliminate. So it's like if you have built up energy, light something up. Scented candle, essential oil, incense, smudge, spray your area. As soon as you smell something, you're actually releasing something. And I find that quite interesting. So those are some of the things that you can actually use to help you get into a place where you're going into balance so that you can receive the foresight and the connection you need to prioritize yourself. And that's something that I do. I do truly believe in that. The other thing is I want to talk about is we naturally go through a process, and the natural forces of the year that we actually walk, that wheel of the year, is about our personal evolution. And so that's one of the reasons why we want to stay aligned onto our path, is because it is something that is a natural flow. So because we just actually experienced in bulk, and I know that a lot of people will be listening to this other times of the year, certain aspects of us connect. And those aspects are to help us gain insight and connect us to our path so that we have the energy to prioritize ourselves. Because a lot of times it's hard, right? We have so much in our lives and so much things that call upon us that it is important for us to stay connected so that we can receive the energy we want and need to move forward. So through this time, when we get into, from winter to spring, it's all about our taste and smell. And maybe your cravings change, or you want something new, or your tastes change. Well, that is all something that naturally happens to each of us. And it's actually activating our path of inspiration. So the things that we're eating right now, it's not so much comfort food, it's inspiration, but you don't want to go heavy on the Doritos. Okay. But the things that we actually do taste and smell will open up the path of inspiration. So this is a great time to take time to drink a cup of tea and relax. Our cup of tea can be a path of inspiration, and depending what herb or tea you're drinking will also, influence the inspiration that you want to tap into. So when we get into spring and all of a sudden spring is upon us, our path is opening. So we all naturally have things that are going to open up and come into our life. And it's meant to be useful, but it's also a new beginning. So if we're sitting there not prioritizing ourselves and giving away our energy, or living in a place where we're low in energy or flat, we don't receive the foresights and the visions that can bring us our thoughts and new beginnings. And that springtime is all about receiving the gift of sight for our abundance, our prosperity, and our households. Okay. Like, who doesn't want to tap into that? So spring is so important. And that's one of the reasons why I find that, keeping my energy above, like joyful and above, if you're, just in a neutral state and above, you're in a flow, and you will be able to tap into these universal flows. But as soon as you're in a state of just need, or, where I say you're in that place where you're living in flight mode, you're not going to tap into these energies because you're too grounded. Right? So we do have to be in a state of the inspiration and the path that we want to manifest. And the life that we want to manifest is the path of self being, prioritizing yourself and paying attention to that. So spring is very magical for us. And that's where we do receive the spiritual alignment that will give us the path that the universe feels, it doesn't, but where the universe will bring us insight on the things that best fit for you. And then what's going to bring you prosperity. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual or, doing something else, but our vision becomes active. And as we receive that vision, we go into a state where we are strengthening that path. So we have to prioritize ourselves in order for our path to for our path to lay a strong foundation. And once we have that idea and we're leading into Beltane, we are strengthening our path. And it's all about feeling. We got the vision. As soon as we have a vision, a psychic vision, feeling comes into play. So you get a vision and it's like, oh, I see this, I should create this. Then you have to follow your feelings. Your psychic senses come up, it comes back, it activates. And so that helps us create our strength, our actual feelings. So if we're not paying attention to our feelings, our strength will not multiply, it won't grow, right? We become weaker. So it is important for us to honor our feelings. The other thing that we naturally go through is the path of coming into being. And that's when we hit the peak, right? So that usually happens after summer, so naturally, but this can also happen all the time, right? I'm talking about the natural flow of the year, but we're always experiencing these things as well. So as soon as we get into the summertime, all of our ideas and everything comes into being, right? So our harvest, our manifestation, the things that we have been calling in for the last 6 months are now manifesting. And then we also tap into new inspirations, new creativity, and new passion. So a lot of times we will actually get to a point where things come to a complete cycle by the summertime. So if you're prioritizing and putting your vision boards together this month, watch for what comes out in the summer. Okay. And then get back into prioritizing what it is that you want in the summer. Refresh your vision board, right? Check those things off and add new things. And then we actually go into a path of insight. So as soon as we take our path further and it's like, okay, all of these things are starting to manifest, you will start to receive more insights. And these insights have to do with new creativity, and they push your purpose further. And you start to receive more insights and passion. And when you start to receive these insights, that's when we start to head into autumn. We're not quite into autumn yet, but the insights that we receive have to do with connection to the spirits, ancestors, the other worlds. They also have to do with our emotions and how we react. So up until we get to that point, the way we react to life and how our emotions have flowed will manifest and connect you to the spirit world that those levels, I guess, of emotion or states of consciousness connect to. So when the veil's thin, it thins for everyone. But what spirit world, what level of consciousness are you connected to? So I always like to make sure that from summer to harvest, I'm enjoying summer. I'm not taking on anything negative. Okay. I want my ancestors and higher realm spirits and good spirits to take me further on my path. So from summer to August, let's say, or to Lunasa, we call it, our clairaudience is in play, our psychic hearing. And it's really important that we're listening to what other people are saying and not internalizing. We have to listen to the outside world, the people we love, the spirits, the names, the energies that are coming forward. And a lot of times that's when our hearing gets louder. And some people will start to receive more positive guidance, or some people will hear their ego, right? Or that's untamed and it's, negative. So a lot of times we're like, oh my God, we think it's us, but it's actually the energy that goes through, that actually happens naturally to all of us, to all of our feelings, our emotions, our taste, our smell, all of us. We go through this cycle. And it also has to do with connecting to those spirits. So what spirit helpers come forward, right? So right before Lunasa is where we want to let the universe know what it is that we want to receive knowledge about, right? What's our fate? Show us our destiny, our purpose. What should we develop? And it's all about prioritizing yourself and your life. Because if you're not, that energy is going to be somewhere else, right? So if we're giving our energy to other people all our life and we're not prioritizing or taking our time out and we're not receiving this energy, but somebody else is receiving it, it can slow things down and it can affect our health, right? So when we start to receive our insights on that second path of the year, and we're prioritizing and thinking about the things that we want and our destiny and our enlightenment, we're centered in our being and we're connected to ourself. And the next path that happens is the path of passing within. Our shadow self comes forward as the veils thin. And that's when we go deep within. So all of a sudden, our self is activated at night. So as soon as the hearing is active, we're listening. We start to listen to first the outside and connect to the spirits, and after Samhain, which is the magic of Halloween or Samhain, we're cleansed. So up until August to the end of October, everything is within. Everything we're hearing is within. But before that, we have to learn to listen to the knowledge that comes. And that knowledge that comes before we go within has to do with the things that we want to learn and know. And if we don't focus on ourself, whatever is inside will come up, and that's what we'll be focusing on. Sometimes we have quite the beast inside from the last year, 20 years, or 50 years. So prioritizing our path allows us to actually have more strength and control and motivation and life force energy in the things that we're prioritizing in our life, instead of just being unconscious of this energy. Well, that's one of the reasons why I find, putting my day together is super important. I know what it's like to just like wake up and go, right? And you do have less control of your day. You don't get the time for yourself, and all of a sudden you're back into the what the life is about, right? The people that you're running into and the situations. But if we can prioritize who we are in our path, and just knowing that, even if it's looking at your vision board on the refrigerator, you will stay aligned to this natural cycle that wants to help you develop. That is part of your natural ability, and the natural forces is to develop and to evolve. So as soon as we get through Halloween, we actually go through that night a cleansing. And once we're cleansed, we do go onto the path of finding our wisdom. And many of you, up until the last week, have recreated their path and come up with these ideas of what they want, what you want to manifest in the next couple of months. And so if that has happened, then you are in alignment to your true self. You are actually prioritizing yourself when you're working on your dreams and goals. So I wanted to share with you that aspect of the self that we naturally go through every year. And I love it. Okay, so listen to that. You can write it down, the cycle of the self, because it is interesting. Okay. The other thing that I find interesting too is, in order to prioritize ourselves, we need to be in touch with ourselves. And when we're in touch with ourselves, we do become brighter, we do become stronger, and we are able to manifest more in our life. And it doesn't have to be, super difficult. Simple things that we can do is start to focus on who you actually are. What aspects are coming into play? Because there's certain aspects that come into play every single day. And I want to share with you 7 of them. And you will notice that every single day, one of these actives or one of these things are going to become active in your life. So pay attention tomorrow, okay? And just see, like, what is it, okay? So maybe you are in a state where you are focusing on your life energies. Okay, you're focusing on your life, your protection, and your security. Okay, what are those things that come into play when you're focusing on your security? The other thing that will come active in your day will also be your feelings, right? Everything that you feel, all of the emotions, the things that you're protecting and trying to create in your life, the things that you're trying to bring stability into your life, everything that you want has feelings and emotions. So if we're not focusing on the things that we want in our life, which is part of our stability, right? Our stability should be part of our desires, right? Then we are not connected to our own feelings. Okay? And if we are not connected to our own feelings, whose feelings are we connected to? Right? And that's one of the reasons why I like to make sure that I have my 2 cups of coffee in the morning before I do my readings, because I'm connecting to so much stuff. And at night, I like to slow down and give my time. But, I had to get into the habit where I actually had to wake up half an hour, 45 minutes earlier than my usual schedule. And that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting up 45 minutes earlier. But I needed to do that in my life at that time. I was running to work. I was going to my shop, working my shop, coming back, doing classes and readings in between, right? I was like, go, go, go. And I had to do that. And when I started doing that, it changed my life. Like all of a sudden, I didn't have to get up 45 minutes earlier because I started to connect to my life in a different way. And I could just like get up and be. And I had more control of my life. So if we are not paying attention to how we feel and the emotions, and I'm not talking about, yeah, focus on your feeling, but make sure they're all the negative feelings. You don't want to do that, but you do want to screen your feelings and emotions and let yourself acknowledge whether they're positive or negative. And if they're negative, put them into a positive state. Like, oh my God, I hated the way that felt. What a bitch, Well, you know what? Instead, I want the universe to change the situation with her. How would the universe change it? Well, the universe wouldn't hate somebody forever, right? So you do have to pay attention to your feelings and your emotions. And if you do pay attention to your feelings and emotions and honor them and turn the negative into the positive, whether it's releasing it or giving it direction, you will actually go into a higher state of being. And that's where you're tapping into your belief system and the power of your higher self. Because all of a sudden, you understand your feelings and you know how to filter your feelings. And as you're filtering your feelings, your ideas come forward on how to handle that situation. And the better the idea, instead of, go get that person back, right? But you're thinking of the solution, you do actually activate more power into your being and into your life, right? And all of a sudden you're tapping into like these ideas that will better your life and things that you should act on. And as soon as that starts to happen, we start to attract energies instead of repelling energies because we're in a lower state of being. So when we honor our feelings, whether they're positive or negative, but seek and give it direction, we tap into higher ideas. And those ideas may not have nothing to do with the feelings that you felt 10 minutes ago, but you'll tap into higher ideas and things to believe in to move you along on your path and on your journey. And all of a sudden, you start to attract the energy, and it's like, yes, I'm so glad I didn't let that person get to me, because now jackpot just hit, right? Before something positive, something negative tries to come. And a lot of times it's other people's energy or someone that, triggers you, right? So you do want to make sure that once you filter your emotions, that you see what you attract, because it happens right away. Your emotions attract or repels. And when you are attracting, because you're dealing with things that honor yourself, you're prioritizing yourself, then you really start to attract the guidance. That's where you actually start to communicate with your spirit guides, the spirits around you. You get to attract those synchronicities. So a lot of times if I'm like, oh my God, I haven't received a sign from spirit for myself, because a lot of times it's like always for other people, then I know that I need to take more time for myself and get to that place where I can let my mind have that and think about and connect to my feelings and emotions, right? So I can put myself into a state of being just by going through these aspects of honoring myself. You can do this in one sitting, or you'll see which one of these are in play in your day. So if I'm sitting there in my day and all of a sudden a doorway opens to a choice that I made, and it enacts my decision, and it's like, yes, the breakthrough happened, then I know for a fact that I'm on the path to what I want to manifest. I'm prioritizing my dreams. And that's why you want to prioritize yourself for better health, for better life, for more connection to your family, for that freedom to be. And once you get into that state where you're seeing the choices, and all of these choices are like, wow, there's actually like 3 different choices and they're all good. You could take all 3, or you could just take the one. It doesn't matter, because you're connected to spirit and it's going to broadcast what you want in magnificent ways. We have to prioritize ourselves if we want to develop our life. It's like impossible not to. So those are some of the things that I find work for me. And before I'm almost finished, but before I was talking about how we need to go into space, right? Well, when we just take time to give ourselves space, our inner wisdom, our spirit vision comes forward. And that's why we want to give ourselves space. Illumination will come forward. If it doesn't come forward in the 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or an hour that you took for your time, it's going to come out in your day. Okay? And if it doesn't, the symbol is the bird, something that's flying. So take a minute. And when you go out your door the next day or that day, what bird do you see? Because that means that you have connected to your space. You're you. And if we actually focus on our energy and we tend to our energy and we're like, oh my God, I'm so drained. There's times where I am so drained. Oh my gosh. Like usually I get all high in energy, but if I do readings all day and then a class, I'm like so drained. Okay. So you can get drained. Okay. And sometimes I have ailments. Okay. These weird ailments that I get from doing too much. So my ears get funny, and then I have to wear earmuffs because they're nice and cozy feeling. Okay. So we all have our ailments, right? So when our energy level is feeling unright, and some of us are like, oh my God, all the time, we have to focus on healing ourselves. Our energy level is a sign that we need to prioritize ourselves. Our energy is being affected. So when you take time for yourself And personally, when I do this, when I want to heal my energy, I usually either use the south, but I normally face north, right? And when I'm sitting north and I'm focusing on my energy, I usually have a candle lit. The second my higher self and my mind and my body knows that I am sitting there because I am wiped out, okay, our healing ability comes forward. So when we take time to prioritize our energy level, okay, our mastery of mind, our thought, and our energy will come forward. And, there's spirits that come forward when we do that. Our ancestors, our inner warrior. So the things like our inner beast that needs healing or wants to come forward. But also, it is always for thousands of years been believed that when we take time to heal our energy, we can connect to the ascended masters because we go into a state of balance. And our thought comes forward. So the mastery of mind comes forward. And if you take energy for yourself and you see a four-legged energy or a four-legged energy, those could be creepy. But if you see a four-legged animal after you've taken time for yourself or you've given yourself space, then that means that your energy is being healed. And then pay attention to how you feel. What was that medicine of that four-legged creature? Was it a deer? Was it a moose? Was it, a fox? There's a hint to what healing you need to receive. And the other thing is time. When you say, I don't have time, it's the worst thing you can say. Don't ever say that. Because when you actually mentally say, I'm going to take time for myself, when you speak the word time, it is something that will activate you to the power of the West. So when you say, I'm going to take time for myself and sit and have a coffee, or I'm going to take time for myself and have a smoke, even though it's not, a healthy thing. Okay. We are actually prioritizing ourself, and our higher self, our mind and our body knows that we are overcoming an energy, that we need to overcome an energy, a fear, an emotion. And so in the ancient days, when people would use the word of time, or taking the time to heal, was known to call in our ancestors, our ancestors' power. Okay. So the signs for the native people, for my tribe, would be the Thunderbird. So if we had visions of the Thunderbird, it would be a sign that we need to take time for ourselves. Do you want to know what the other one is? No, so remember this. If you see ravens, if you see ravens, that is a sign that your ancestors are saying you need to take time for yourself. Make sure you take time for yourself that day, because the raven has a message for you. And also, when we smudge. So when I smudge, I like to smudge every day, especially if there is something, that I'm dealing with after someone's reading, to disattach from spirits. So when I light my smudge, it is believed that when you light your smudge, you're giving yourself time. Okay. So take that into consideration. I always think that is so interesting. Okay, let's see. I'm almost done here. I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so a couple other things before we go is I did want to share with you other things that you want to do to take time. So make sure you are always focusing on your body, right? You always want to do better than you did yesterday, okay? Whether that's going for a walk or standing or eating something healthier. always be conscious of taking care of your body. Our body is our temple. And, I'm saying this at 45 and I'm like, yeesh, I should have done so much more to take care of my body, but I'm doing it now. So you do want to be conscious, take care of your body. And while you're doing that, that is also something that will help lift your self-esteem. Okay. We also have to dream big. So you always hear, think about your desires, right? Set small goals, but you do need to dream big. And when we dream big, the universe, your higher self, the spirits around you, we can all work together, and it gives you something that will bring in motivating power, the law of attraction, the universal laws that we use in our spirituality. It is a life force. And those things will help heal you and give you self-esteem. And that's one of the reasons why I love, making sure I do my full moons, because I know it's like my healing power. If I don't do my full moon one month, then it's like the worst month I've ever had. And I just believe that for myself because it's something that happens. You also want to have people to connect with. Who can you connect with? And maybe it doesn't have to be someone that you want to tell your life problems to, but you do need to have somebody that you can connect with, or a community. And that's one of the reasons why I love the Sacred Circle. And I love my community, because I can just be who I am and I don't have to worry about anything or anybody outside of that and what they think of me. Right? So you do want to have somebody that you can trust and connect with. Just feel a connection. And that connection of a friend should be positive, right? It should be about, the adventure of what it is that you want to create. I love having witnesses and people that are part of my life, and I get to see what they're creating and what I'm creating. It's uplifting. You also want to take time to indulge your creative side. A lot of people are like, I hate creativity. Just like some people say they hate meditation. But when we create, we instantly connect to our higher self. So if you can't meditate, create, right? Start drawing, right? Look at the outside and create what you're seeing, the beauty that you're seeing out your front door. So as soon as you indulge in creation, you're connecting to your higher self, and creation can take place. It's a universal law. The other thing to help for your lifting yourself up and staying connected to your path is looking for beauty in everyday things. Make sure at the end of the day you can think about something that was beautiful, like who was the beautiful person? What did you see that was beautiful or blissful? So you do want to seek beauty in everything, or in every day. Pick something. What was it that was beautiful today? Do a random act of kindness once in a while. A lot of times our guidance will tell us to do something nice for someone else. And you're like, why would I do something nice for some stranger when I could do something nice for my son? Okay. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just do something nice for someone else. Make sure that that is something that you need to do. For me, it's like, it is an offering to the universe. When I help other people, it's like, I feel like I am part of that universe that is spreading that energy of help. Like, our world needs help. So I truly believe in following your intuition when it comes to what is it that you're meant to help. Is it a charity, a person, a family member? Always have something that you are part of where you can act kind to yourself and other people. Okay. The other thing is, express yourself. What is your story? What is your style? Don't let yourself be in sweatpants every day for the month. You got to change it up, right? Your higher self, your temple wants to express itself, right? Put on that red lipstick, make sure that you do something every once in a while to express who you are. Dress it. Tell your story. There's a reason why we like to dress up on full moons and wear our witch's hat, put whatever it is. Make sure you're telling your story. Who are you? That is part of being putting yourself, prioritizing yourself, and also lifting your self-esteem, right? So the other thing is expressing your needs. So it is important to express the needs that you want, the things for yourself or the things that you need other people to do for you. And you need to trust your needs, right? Your needs are not there to drive you crazy. Your needs are there because they need to express, and there's a way that you can receive what you need right now. Where's the solution? Where's the connection? And you have to tell yourself every day, remind yourself what you're going for. Today, I'm focusing on that. And it is important. Okay. And a couple other things that I want to do is, it is hard to prioritize ourselves, but if you can do some of these things every day, you will find that you will have a more organized and connected life to what you want to manifest. For me, having clear goals. My higher self, okay, my spirit guides, they need to know my goals, because if my goals are unclear, if they don't see what I'm writing down for my intention paper, it's hard for them. Then all of a sudden we're like at this capacity where there could be this element, the strength that's not there. So make sure that you have clear goals of the things you want, even if you put a list together, right? The other thing is reprioritize. Look at your tasks every month, every week, whatever it is. Your to-do list is something that you should prioritize. And when you're putting your to-do list together, make sure you're putting them in columns, right? What is something that is urgent? What is not urgent? Do the urgent things first. Schedule the things that are not, right? So we do have to pay attention to what's important. And if we are able to put that down on paper, then it is going to help us, okay? There's less to carry. And delegating things. A lot of times we take on things we don't have to. So as soon as we eliminate things that we can now redelegate to other people for help, or just get off our list because it's no longer as important as it was a week ago, then it actually feels good. You're like, oh, I don't need to do that now. And it feels good to get that off that list. The other thing is breaking your distractions. So what if you're getting distracted and it's all other people? That means you need to pull back and reprioritize your own time. Don't give other people more time than you give yourself. And it's like, well, how can you do that? I got to work 8 hours a week, a day. Well, make sure that you do give yourself a goal or a treat or, a vacation, whatever it is. So make sure that you do have that time, because I just explained how important time was. And remember that you can say no. A huge part of prioritizing yourself involves letting go of certain things that aren't good for you, that don't make you feel good. And so when you're treating everything as a priority, nothing gets done. We're not expected to be available 24/7. And I have to tell myself that, because it's like, nowadays with work being online and social media, and you get messages at midnight. One day I was messaging someone at 1 a.m. and I thought, oh my gosh, like I am outside of my business hours. So you can say no. And make sure that you do. Okay. What is it? If your higher self wants you to say no, say no. Learn how to replace no's with, giving yourself time. No, I'm doing this. I'm sorry. Okay. And when you do things that are urgent, you actually will feel good, because there's an urgency effect. This is actually something that has been researched. The more urgency we feel, the more we are naturally inclined to choose time-sensitive tasks over other tasks that are less urgent. So there's a reason why people are bad at prioritizing, right? So we do have to learn how to prioritize and delegate, right? And prioritize that way so that we don't have to respond to whatever it is that requires our immediate attention, or we do, depending on what it is, but we are putting ourselves in the reactive mode that we choose to do and go into. And that is something that will actually make life easier. Okay. And I like to make lists. So to me, lists are great. I used to hate them. And then my husband's a Virgo. He likes to write lists. And I was like looking at all these lists. And every time I opened up something, I'd see a list. And I'm like, okay, I need to write a list. And then I did. And then I started checking things off my list. And I was like, oh my God, that is a feel good moment, right? And I'll look at my list and say, oh my God, 2 months ago, I made a list and I didn't check anything off. But gathering lists and making a list is actually something that will help us on a mental level. So it's one less thing that we have to prioritize mentally, carry, right? We can look at it, and it is something that will give us more freedom so that we can focus on ourselves. Okay. So I think that is everything that I wanted to cover. There's going to be more in the book. So there's actually some pretty cool things that I have, ways that you can take this further, as well as how the mind reads. So a little more into our worries and our fears and how they interact and how it affects our personal transformation. So I can't wait till you get this. I'll be sending this out first thing Monday. So make sure you message me. And yeah, I'm excited. So let's do some readings. I'm gonna pull some cards on the power of your self prioritizing. Okay, when you make yourself a priority this year, and I know most of you have already started. Let's see, what are we manifesting? So this will be a read for all of us. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them down in your chat. Okay. Prioritizing ourselves. What are we going to experience? Please be good. I'm scared to look. Okay. Protection. So I love that. Okay. That makes sense. When we're prioritizing ourselves, we do have stronger protection over ourselves, as well as freakish things that happen. And that's one thing that I truly believe is that when I know that I'm focused on my life, the things that I'm meant to focus on, there is no other room for freakish things, right? So I do always feel more protected when I'm focusing on my life instead of, other stuff that goes out there. Like same with it, like just the news and everything we take in. It's like, nope, smudge. I'm focusing on me. The next one that I got for prioritizing, oh my gosh, is forgiveness. Look at that. And I feel like that is all of us. We've always thought of things that we could have done or things that we wished we'd do, right? Well, don't carry anything like that. Prioritize now. You can do the things that you want. It's never too late. So forgive yourself and everything that you're carrying, because you do need to let it go and enjoy the things that you're going to create. So we all must forgive ourselves from the past and all the things we regret, all the things we carry, all the things we wish we would have done, and it will no longer happen because we're going to do what we want now. Let's see what else we get. That's my interpretation anyway. Prosperity. Look at that. So I think this is huge because it lets me know that all of us do have some awesome prosperity ahead of us. Focusing on ourselves will manifest the things that we want, right? And our energy, the way we think, the way we feel, all of that is a motivating power. of what it is that we're materializing. So if we're focusing on ourselves and how we feel physically and emotionally and mentally, we are in that life force. But if we just let ourselves suffer, we won't go into that force, right? We do want to try to stay balanced, body, mind, and spirit. So that is it for us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. And the replay will be available. I'll post it for you, and make sure you get this address and have a great night. So send me your address so I can send this out. Thank you for joining. Make this your year. Get into focusing on your dreams. Don't worry about the house. Just, put a couple of these ingredients together and see what it happens, right? You're welcome. Take care. Have a great night. Bye-bye.